Welcome to Mindshock. This is your host, Bruce McGuire, and you are listening to the Mindshock Live Q&A number 20. This is our 20th edition of live Q&A. A lot of technical difficulties recently. If you can hear me well in the chat, make that known, so I can see whether this current setting works for the stream. We do not have redundancy streams working tonight for some reason. Okay, you guys can hear me, that's good. No redundancy streams tonight, so I guess we can't get too crazy just in case until I get all that sorted. But yeah, it was quite annoying. For some reason, just the settings in the multi-stream do not appear to work. So, but we are here on YouTube. For those who don't get notifications, you can become a free patron on Patreon and get the notifications through there. They work much better than YouTube's. So, yeah, welcome. Been a little bit, so we'll be playing catch up on quite a few topics tonight, I'm sure. As always, if you enjoy the Mindshock podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure to subscribe to this channel, the Bruce McGuire channel, the home of Mindshock. Hit the bell for notifications. They may or may not work, which is why I said you can also become a free patron. You can also check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comment section, or if you are with us live in the live chat, I will try to get to all of them. Welcome, Haley, Jess, Sarah, Dave Bagatka. Something else is here. Shifty Eyes, Shady, Lightwalkers, I Am Ion's Cat, Sarah Catherine, Aaron, Forbidden Berries. That's an ominous name. Scott, AJ Forever, Adam, welcome one and all. So let's get to the first questions here. Lightwalkers asked, any news in Madison Scott murder? Haven't had a chance to get any updates on that case yet, but if there is anything, I will release another episode. And yes, I will get all of the previous podcasts back online as soon as possible. Obviously, before the end of the year is a major target to get everything back up. So that way for 2025, we will be firing on all cylinders, so to speak, with the entire archive back online. AJ Forever asks, Bruce, do you ever get tired of the coincidence theorist goofery? Well, here's the thing. Without coincidence theorist goofery, would the Mindshock podcast even exist? Would we have anything to laugh at? Think about the endless entertainment brought forth by the Dunning-Kruger stylings of the coincidence theorist goofs. No shortage of Dunning-Kruger stylings. Austin MP88 says, did YouTube take down part 2 of the Nathan Reynolds episode? Yes, they did, and I do not have a backup of that, unfortunately. All of the backups failed. I think YouTube's doing something really weird with their servers for the past few months. I mean, I don't know. For some reason, redundancy streams, I mean, going through the YouTube server, they get terminated and deleted after the fact. It's really weird. I mean, I'm still working on possibly getting it, but yeah, I don't think. It's weird. It still exists on my end. It just says it's terminated. And there's no way to actually download it, but obviously it still exists on YouTube servers. Unfortunately, it wasn't up long enough to get cache, to have a cache copy of that. I am Ion's Cat says, what do you think about the East Coast drones? Distraction for what? Well, that could be a lot of things, right? Could be some kind of testing. Could be Project Bluebeam rollouts. Could be a lot of things. I mean, I don't really know what to make of it. It's made the news. I am Ion's Cat asking, when is the Mandela Effect podcast coming out? We'll see, we'll see. Maybe between Christmas and New Year's. Gotta end the year with a bang. Not that this yearly calendar is accurate in any way, of course. Heracles asks, what happened with what? AJ Ferraz, does the humiliation ritual culture have an endgame? Oh, that's a great question there. Yeah. Oh man. I need to get the Hollywood humiliation ritual episode back up as well. Yeah, I'll be getting a lot back up this week and next week. Should be getting dozens and dozens of episodes back up. Matthew Knight asks, any thoughts on the observations of the 24-hour sun in Antarctica? I knew somebody was going to ask about that. Let me see what else we get here. Okay, Haley also asked, dying to know your thoughts on the recently documented and verified 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Les Xylophone, about them drones, did I miss that combo? I didn't really say much. Just that there could be so many different things that there are. But what's curious about the drones is, think about if they had drone tech, let's say 100 years ago. A lot of those UFOs could simply have been drones of sorts. I mean, think about it. Look at all the other advanced tech they had 100 years ago that was in public knowledge. So if they were drones, I mean, they could easily perform these just fantastical high-speed maneuvers because they're just remote-operated drones. Shifty Eyes Shady says, military testing for mass drone warfare because Ukraine-Russia is first major drone war. That's an interesting point. That's an interesting point. And how long have they been testing the drones? That's another interesting point, right? Because if civilian... I mean, when was the first civilian drone? Let's see here. I actually had one many years ago. By many, I don't mean that many, but probably, yeah, over a decade ago. Let's see the history of drones here. Unmanned aerial vehicles. So, wow, interesting. So apparently in the 1980s and 90s, the U.S. funded the Counterterrorism Center, the CTC, within the CIA, which sought to fight terrorism with the aid of modernized drone tech. Well, actually, this is also curious. During the 1973 Yom Kippur War, Soviet-supplied surface-to-air missile batteries in Egypt and Syria caused heavy damage to Israeli fighter jets. As a result, Israel developed the IAI Scout as the first UAV with real-time surveillance. So, okay, so UAVs were used, obviously, for a while. I mean, wow. The first tactical UAV mission across the Suez Canal was in 1969. I mean, this is kind of crazy just how long all of this... I'll put up an image here. All of this drone tech has been around for a very, very long time. I mean, this is from the Suez Canal. I mean, how crazy is that? I mean, this is the 60s. This is the 60s. So the first target drone was actually 1941. I mean, obviously this thing has some serious size, so it's not really that small. They got smaller much later, but in the 40s they were still using unmanned drones of sorts. Wow, this is kind of crazy. The earliest recorded use of an unmanned aerial vehicle for warfighting was July 1849. A balloon carrier. An unmanned balloon carrier. Interesting. I'll put up an image of this as well. So obviously this is not a new idea by any stretch of the imagination. This is without getting into the Vimana and all that stuff. This is just the standard history of unmanned aerial vehicles. So going back to the 1800s. So according to the wiki here, they were actually testing unmanned airships quite a long time ago. Spanish engineer Leonardo Torres Quevedo introduced a radio-based control system called telekinesis, telekino, that's interesting. So this was unveiled at the Paris Academy of Science in 1903. Significant development of drones started in the 1900s and originally focused on providing practice targets for training military personnel. The earliest attempt at a powered UAV was A.M. Lowe's aerial target in 1916. Lowe confirmed that Geoffrey de Havilland's monoplane was the one that flew under control March 21st, 1917, using his radio system. Wow, that's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy stuff. Nikola Tesla described a fleet of uncrewed aerial combat vehicles in 1915. That's curious. That's very curious. I wonder what kind of info he had. The film star and model airplane enthusiast Reginald Denny developed the first scaled remote piloted vehicle in 1935. Soviet researchers experimented with controlling Tupolev TB-1 bombers remotely in the 30s. In World War II, Germany produced and used various UAV aircraft during the war, like the Argus AS-292. This one's quite small. So here's the Germans. Let me catch up with some of the questions here before we continue this historical deep dive into unmanned aerial vehicles. We'll get to the 24-hour sun in Antarctica after this. I am Ion's cat. Hope you can read the D&D module Deep Carbon Observatory over the Christmas break. AJ Forever asks, do Inner Earth Bigfoot assassins dream of electric sheep? Well, are these time-traveling interdimensional Bigfoots from Hollow... Terminator Bigfoots from Hollow Earth? Are those the ones you're referring to? Forbidden Berry says, Austin Whitsitt is in Antarctica right now along with Jeranism. Yeah, that's kind of crazy that they really went there. I mean, that's bold. I mean, those are true scientists right there. I mean, if it can be actually documented that they're there. I mean, they went somewhere, right? I Am Iron Scat says Tesla demonstrated his remote control boat around 1930 and no one knew what they were looking at. Adam says, could the drones be looking for a specific threat, some type of specific threat weapon that got through the country? Okay, that's an interesting thought, Adam, but here's another mind shock. Here's another mind shock, people. The first major one of the night being unleashed here. What if? So let's say it's relatively common knowledge that the military is testing some kind of drones. Would interdimensional entities disguise themselves as the same types of drones everybody knows are being tested in the sky? So if these are DJI drones or whatever popular drone models, would interdimensional entities take the form of these known drones in order to do their own reconnaissance or whatever they're doing? Is anybody talking about that? Welcome, Justin Johnson. Iron's Cat says the first drone was Tesla's remote control boat patented in 1898. Matthew Pip says, will anyone hire me? What are you referencing? Mr. Pip. Bama Dog Mom says, hey, I made alive. Are we talking drones? I was thinking they are holograms, Project Bluebeam style. Yeah, but Bluebeam might not be exclusively hologram based. If it's a giant umbrella project, I'll be doing a dedicated podcast on Bluebeam actually. I think it might be a multifaceted operation, and it might not be exclusively hologram. Austin MP88 says, Bluebeam to divert attention off class warfare talk with CEO assassination, maybe. I mean, the drones have been reported for many months now. I mean, even almost a year, right? Like the uptick in UFO / drone reporting. I mean, there was a huge uptick the past year or so. I mean, this isn't just the past few weeks with that assassination. AJ Forever says one of the largest ports for the East Coast for imports is NJ. Millions of containers are processed there each year. The drones are looking for some contraband that snuck through this port. Interesting. Truth Trollette, welcome. My thoughts on the drones, military entities, and Project Bluebeam altogether. Sarah says a baby bat flew into my house a few nights ago. Flat Bob asks, was it Batman, Batchild, or Batmam? Sky Prince says you should do vids on med beds. What about them? Truth Trollette says they are not just on the East Coast, they are being reported all across the earth. Yeah, I mean, there was definitely some kind of uptick the past year or so. I mean, the whole disclosure thing in Congress and all that, I mean, I don't know. It does seem like they're setting up Bluebeam or something like it. But let's continue here through the history here. Italy also developed a specialized drone version of the Savoy Marchetti SM-79 flown by remote control. Although the armistice with Italy was enacted prior to any operational deployment. That's kind of crazy, though, that they had this in the 40s. Like, fully operational, unmanned fighter aircraft. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, this is really crazy. I mean, wow. That's pretty incredible. This is the 40s. Now, and there was just a ton of development throughout the 50s, 60s, and 70s. In 1973, the U.S. military officially confirmed that they'd been using UAVs in Vietnam. Over 5,000 U.S. airmen had been killed, over 1,000 were missing or captured. The USAF 100th Strategic Reconnaissance Wing flew about 3,435 UAV missions during the war. That's a lot. A cost of about 544 UAVs lost to all causes. Huh. Interesting. I mean, I did not know that Vietnam had that much UAV activity. I mean, wow. So that, and in 73, also involved in the Yom Kippur War. Egypt, Syria, Israel, Soviet supplied surface-to-air missile batteries. Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. And then also the 82 Lebanon War. So modern UAVs, 80s and 90s, 91 Gulf War. Huh. And again, it just goes to show how early military has tech before civilian. I'm trying to find the first civilian drone. So there was a 4-rotor helicopter design in 1908. Not a lot of details. I mean, they were mostly manned though. So let's see here. So, first decades of the 2000s, the quadcopter layout has become popular for small-scale unmanned aerial vehicles or drones. Small toy remote-controlled quadcopters were produced in Japan in the early 1990s. So the Dragon Flyer 1 by Canadian startup was not designed until 1999. So early 90s? In Japan, around 2005 to 2010, advances in electronics allowed the production of cheap, lightweight flight controllers, accelerometers, global positioning system, and cameras. This resulted in the quadcopter configuration being popular for small unmanned aerial vehicles. I mean, I do remember in the, I think even the late 80s, there were those super expensive toy helicopters. But that's not exactly a aerial drone that can go up like a mile high. So basically, The FAA regulated drones May 18th, 2006. Gave permission for a drone to be used within U.S. civilian airspace. Huh. In 2012, Congress passed the FAA Modernization and Reform Act to direct the FAA to develop rules that apply specifically to drones. Huh. Yeah, basically, I mean, there's a few different sites here. Percepto.co says that their military drones were used from the mid-1800s. Everything from balloons to, yeah, actual remote control planes. So basically, 2013, Amazon announced it would use drones for delivery. That kind of popularized drones. Still trying to find what was the first drone a civilian could buy. I mean, there were also remote control planes for quite a while. I remember those as well. "2010 was the first drone that could be controlled with a smartphone. So that was the AR drone. iPhone controlled drone. So this would be 2010. Okay, so 2006 was when DJI was founded. The first Phantom drone was 2013. Huh. I'm still kind of curious to what kind of drones were available in Japan. Here's a graphic of all of this. Yeah, this is a good graphic here, so let's put this on the screen. I didn't think we'd be talking about the history of drones tonight, but this is Mindshock Q&A. You never know what's going to happen here. So, you have 1783 balloon drones throughout the 1800s. Austria, 1849, they're doing balloon bombs. 1858, France, first aerial photograph taken. Then you have first camera on an uncrewed aircraft, Sweden, 1896. Tesla demonstrates radio-controlled craft, 1898. I mean, a lot of stuff going on here. So the first radio-controlled UAV torpedo, 1937 in the U.S. First low-cost radio-controlled target aircraft, UK, 1935. This is mostly military. So first smartphone-controlled quadcopter, France, 2010. 2013, yeah, I guess 2013 would have been, yeah, 2013, they're all launching those little drones where you can get easily. So I guess it was around 2013 where you could easily just buy a pretty decent drone that can fly pretty high. I guess before then, they'd be quite limited or really low range. Okay, so does that answer that question? What's going on with all the drones? So they've been around for a long time, so over 100 years. So, yeah, I mean, to say that it's definitely not connected with UFOs, I mean, I don't know if anybody could say that. Let me catch up on some chats here. South to west, welcome. Can we get Maxwell Powers' thoughts on the drones? That would be interesting to know. Richie Rich, haven't seen you in a bit. Richie Rich says, I hope Maxwell isn't locked out of his house because he forgot he put his key in his pocket 15 seconds ago. We need him back on the show. Shifty Eyes Shady says, I'm getting high and eating baklava. What is baklava? I thought when I first read that, I thought balaclava. You're eating balaclavas? Those must taste weird. Or you must be somewhere cold or somewhere hot where they're no longer needed. Let's see what baklava is. A flaky, crisp, and tender layered pastry. Interesting. Mediterranean cuisine here. Yeah, I'm not sure I've ever had this. Interesting. Baklava is Turkish food and not Mediterranean. I mean, Turkey does have a Mediterranean region. Turkey is on the Mediterranean. Almost 1,000 miles on the Mediterranean coast, so I would think it's subclassified all as Mediterranean. Okay, so all right, so we're getting to the 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Is that where we're going? All right, so let's go there. So, as I've said, even when people first asked about that, or even in the really early flat earth discussions, you would have to vary, in order for anything to mean anything, you need to confirm the variables. So, without knowing, without confirming the distances between the southernmost points, South America, Africa, Australia, New Zealand, and Antarctica, you wouldn't. What are you looking at? I mean, what are you looking at? So, I mean, I don't know. Now, let's say there is a 24-hour sun, and let's say the Earth really is a globe, for the sake of argument. That's an interesting question on why there aren't countless videos of 24-hour webcam videos. Because, I mean, it's just kind of weird. I mean, scientists have been living there full time for how many decades? So it's kind of weird. Definitely kind of weird. AJ Forever asks, who could shoot down more drones? The interdimensional Bigfoot Terminator assassins from Inner Earth or the Biden administration? That's a good question. I don't know. Boggin in the house. Welcome. Nerdic. What a great name. Can we talk about Jan Marsalek? Is there a specific question there? I mean, that's the question. You want to talk about Jan Marsalek. An Austrian fugitive, former businessman, and suspected spy operative for Russia. We can talk about him for a little bit. Is there a specific question? Like, is the mainstream narrative regarding this guy legit? So, this is a fugitive former businessman, suspected spy operative for Russia. From 2010 to 2020, he was chief operating officer of the German payment processing firm Wirecard, which became insolvent and collapsed in 2020. Marsalek was responsible for Wirecard's business in Asia, where the company admitted that nearly $2 billion in cash it supposedly held did not exist. I mean, that's kind of curious. So this is 2 billion euro did not exist. Marsalek and the rest of the company's executive team were dismissed June 18, 2020, after which he fled to Germany. He is now reportedly living in Russia after Interpol issued a red notice arrest warrant for his alleged role in the Wirecard scandal. According to investigators, Marsalek had been recruited by Russian intelligence since at least 2010. Huh. Now, what's kind of curious is that his grandfather was Hans Marsalek, a member of the Austrian resistance during World War II, was later suspected to be a spy for the Soviet Union. How curious is that? So, I mean, that's kind of weird. That's kind of weird. This guy didn't die until 2011. We're not going to get into him, but it's just curious because his grandfather basically accused of the same thing. So when Marsalek lived in Munich, he lived opposite the Russian consulate. Would they be that obvious? I mean, I don't know. Maybe. So they were supposing he made contacts with Russian intelligence through the Austrian-Russian Friendship Society, the ORFG. That's curious. Among his associates was former GRU Colonel Andrei Chuporigin. Marsalek reportedly boasted to companions about his trips to Palmyra, Syria, as a guest of the Russian military. That's interesting. Wow. So, yeah, I mean, there's quite a bit there, but I mean, I don't know what you're looking for in terms of answers here. I mean, it's definitely curious. Nerd Nerdic says he lived close to me in Prinzregenstenster. €61 paid every month, 45,000 euro rent there. Or in Munich. Haley asks, Bruce, do you have a video on the 27 Club? Not specifically. I referenced it. I might have referenced it in a few different podcasts, but not a single deep dive video, no. I probably should do one. Yeah, I mean, just briefly mentioned here and there. Intellects, welcome. Bama Dog Mom says, so the internet apparently doesn't know when the term drone was first used on American television. Okay, I think I just found something, though. I think I just found the first available drone. So hold on, let's see if we can watch, let's see if we can watch a commercial here. Wow, that's a really short commercial, but let's look at that again. So, wait, no, wait, what? Yeah, this is pretty cool. This is definitely pretty cool. I wonder what the range on this thing was. So this is 1991. That looks pretty cool for 1991. I mean, how cool is that? That's really cool. Sovereign Searcher, what's the topic tonight? It's an open Q&A, so people can ask any questions. People were asking about the drones on the East Coast. And we just kind of went through the history of drones and when civilian availability was out. So it looks like 1991. (1991) was the year. pretty fascinating stuff here. So Japan had civilian commercially available drones 1991. So not those little toy helicopters, but an actual quadricopter style drone here. Looks pretty cool. Looks pretty cool. Intelix, thanks for the super chat here. I think KSA drinkers are a psyop. I don't know what that is. KSA? Kayes? Is that a Japanese drink or something? Nerdic says he works as a Russian Orthodox priest and now. That's interesting. I wonder if YouTube's removing some of these chats. It's kind of weird. Let me go through them again and see if I can unmark some of them. If this YouTube is unfairly marking some of them as spam. Heracles also asked Bruce, what do you think of Brett Cooper leaving Daily Wire? Wow, okay. I didn't think we'd be going there. Okay, we got a lot of questions here. Oh, man. A lot of questions here. I don't know. She was making some movies with the Daily Wire. Daily Wire are kind of pretty goofy, a goofy bunch, especially Matt Walsh. I don't know. I do wonder what the real reason was, because Candace Owens, of course, over the whole Israel thing, pretty much clashing with Mr. Shapiro there. But Brett Cooper, yeah, maybe she wanted to do other stuff and they didn't let her. Maybe she wanted to expand her brand a little bit. And they kind of wanted to keep everything under the Daily Wire umbrella. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure more info will become available later. Probably too early to pontificate at the moment. Oh, Intellect says text-to-speech bad. Drones are a current psyop. Oh, okay. Kayese drinkers? Supposed to be drones or a psyop. Okay, I thought there was some kind of like super popular drink that kind of came out or something. That's funny. Okay. Alright, so drones are a psyop. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird. I mean, everything seems to be a psyop to a certain extent. Frank Sassano in the chat. You were my intro to Delphi. Yeah, I'm going to be getting the rest of the episodes up in the playlist. Not too many more. I'll try to get the rest of the playlist up as soon as possible. AJ Forever. Bruce, thoughts on the government indoctrination centers masquerading as centers of higher learning? Is perfect regurgitation a sign of superior intelligence? Probably a sign of lower intelligence. Well, I think you also have to put in mental strength there as well, because those who are mentally strong are not just going to get with the program. It's an interesting phrase, isn't it? Get with the program, get with the programming, as opposed to dissent from the system. Oh, wow, that's creepy. Flat Bob says, it's actually strange. I was just talking with my cousin the other day about a dude who got shot at a bar I was at, underage, who was 27 and died on the 27th. You guys want to talk about Keegan Klein? Plenty more of that individual. I mean, I don't know, like, he didn't really come up at trial. I mean, he should have been a witness, right? Heracles said, Bruce, I see a promo for Tim Pool Culture War analysis for tonight. Was that a misprint or are we in for a doubleheader? That's so the multi-streamer's glitching like crazy. So, yeah, there's actually no redundancy stream tonight, so hopefully we kind of keep it, not too crazy, because I'm not going to have, this is not streaming on Rumble or Kick or Twitch or anywhere else. So this is just on YouTube. Yeah, the multi-stream was getting crazy and glitching out, so... You know, I will try... Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do that one until I get all the technical issues, sorted for the multiple platform stream. I Am Ion's Cat says, remote control planes were available in the 70s. Isn't that a drone? Yeah, I mean, it's an unmanned vehicle, but the quadricopter style drone, the ones that can just zig and zag like UFOs, that's what I was referring to. Apparently 1991 is the year when they became available in Japan here. This is the Kient's Gyro Saucer, 1991. So this is 8 years before the Dragon Flyer 1, which is kind of curious. So basically there was no innovation. There was no innovation for another 8 years? Huh. That's interesting. The battery life was 90 seconds. Pretty impressive. Anywhere between 90 seconds to 3 minutes. The body was made from foam, weighed 90 grams, cost about $450 US, which is about $1,000 today, maybe a little more. And pretty cool stuff. I mean, a lot of people reference the Dragon Flyer, not Dragon Flyer, but the Dragon Flyer 1999, which is wow, that's actually kind of crazy, because this 1991 drone actually kind of looks more impressive than the Dragon Flyer, which came out 8 years later. But interesting stuff in drone technology, quadricopter style drone technology. This was 1991. Pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff here. Boggin says they had phones in cars in the 40s. Feels like Mandela. In the 40s? I remember they were all over the place in the 80s. Car phones in the 40s? Is that a Mandela? Let's see here. 46? Wow. Well, I mean, I guess police car... Well, what type of phones? Let's see here. '79 West Germany. Oh, and 58. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy stuff, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I actually never did a deep dive on car phones. I mean, I know there were I remember a lot of cars in the 80s had them, and the early 90s. Yeah, around the mid to late 90s, apparently, like, I don't remember seeing them. Mid to late 90s. But through the 80s into the early 90s, yeah, I remember a lot of car phones. Sovereign Searcher dropping some bombs here. Why do people pay taxes if they're voluntary? Also, Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. Yeah, there's no redundancy stream up for tonight, so I think I might want to avoid those topics. Rethink Inc. says they came out with a children's remote control car that was controlled by a headband that transmitted thoughts to control the car over 20 years ago, but it disappeared off shelves almost immediately. Now that you mention it, I vaguely remember something like that, actually more than 20 years ago. I remember something about that in the 90s. I remember seeing something about that maybe mid to late 90s. Not that it was available to purchase, but I vaguely remember reading about that maybe in a magazine. How they were testing. I think they even had some kind of setup at a museum. I'm trying to remember now. I think they had some kind of setup as maybe some kind of tech expo at a museum that I was at. I didn't know it was going to be there, and they were doing stuff like that. I don't even remember what I thought about it at the time, but yeah, you controlled by thoughts. Rethink Inc., do you happen to know the name of that? I wonder if there was more than one manufacturer producing those. Matari Sensei says, I'm putting my head in the sand on the drones. I think it's a psyop. Flapop says, everything is a psyop nowadays. Frank says, every single time I hear his name outside of this, I hear Bruce say it in my head. Talking about the Kleinmeister? Wow, that is weird. Boggin says they have ice cream with fish taste in Japan. How weird is that? That's pretty weird. That is weird. Oh, welcome, Clark. Truth Trollette says Daily Wire is all... Actually, I don't even know if I want to say that word on a non-redundant stream. Matari asks, have you analyzed the Ariana Grande interview video, Bruce? No, I have not. Is that what you guys want to do right now? Intellect says, I heard the real reason for what? Oh, are you talking about Brett Cooper? What's the real reason, Intellect, on Brett Cooper departing Daily Wire? Flapop says, I feel like all the talking heads on TV are just there to keep people fighting amongst each other and to create division. Boggin says, I'd eat bacon ice cream. Clark says, any update on the Panama case? Yeah, I do have episode 3 coming. Just had some serious tech issues with multi-streaming, so I have to resolve those before I get to that. So I'll probably be working on getting the previous... all the episodes back online from the previous playlists before I do new ones, but hopefully soon. Oh, I see. So Intellect says, my girlfriend is in the business. Her contract expired. She was bringing in more numbers viewer-wise than Walsh was, but they wouldn't up her contract, so she left to start her own channel. Yeah, that's interesting. Boggin says, hey Bruce, any news about your old channel? Have they responded with specificity? Basically, I got threatened not to reach out to tech support anymore. Because I reached out so many times. But not really. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not counting on anything happening there. That was the last email I got from them. I don't know if that was also kind of AI phrased, but I guess if you reach out too many times, they send something like that. AJ Forever says, let's talk about the drones on 9/11 and really let it rip. Maybe not. Maybe not. No redundancy stream tonight. Flat Bob says, Bruce, when do you think you'll have an in-depth analysis of the Mandela effect? Any time frame? I'm thinking around Christmas. That would definitely be a good time for it. Frank Sassano says they had video calls in the 40s. Austrian painter led Germany had them first. I thought it was the 70s. First video phone. I remember the 70s. Now, let's check this out. First video call. It says June 30, 1970. On video telephony. That's kind of weird, though. So 2 years after the telephone was first patented in 1876, an early concept of a combined video phone and widescreen television called a telephonoscope was conceptualized. So this is, check this out. Check this out. This is 1879 here. The telephonoscope transmits light as well as sound. I think this needs a whole episode. I mean, this is right after the regular phone is patented. That's weird. That's pretty weird. This is in Punch magazine, 1878. What's weird is, according to Wiki, fraudulent reports of advances in video telephones were publicized as early as 1880. How do they know they were fraudulent, though? What kind of Tartarian tech was going on here? Yeah, this is weird. 1891, Dr. Bell recorded conceptual notes on electrical radiophone, which discussed the possibility of seeing by electricity using devices that employed tellurium or selenium imaging components. I mean, that's curious. Bell Labs had a prototype in 1927. Wow, this is cool stuff here. I mean, this is really cool stuff. Check this out. Here's two images from this 1927 prototype. I mean, this is really crazy stuff here. I mean, this is really crazy stuff. 1927? So it has some kind of camera here, and then it transmitted the video. I mean, we're not even talking just... I mean, we're not talking frames here. I mean, this is really crazy stuff. Wow. Telephonic image transmitters were the precursors. An electro... The heck is this? A mechanical television? Scanning device. Okay, so that wasn't... Okay, that's not telephone. Okay. Yeah, this is curious. So this is 18 frames per second. So we're not talking 1 or 2 frames here. This is 18 frames per second. This is kind of like a webcam, almost like an early webcam. So, yeah, developed all through the 30s. So, early 36, the first public video telephone service, Germany's Gegensen Fernsprechenlagen visual telephone system. Huh. That is crazy. So it looks like they were separately, but this could actually run 25 frames per second. That's pretty cool. So it looks like the Germans and AT&T's Bell Labs were simultaneously developing this technology separately. Huh. There was Picture Phone. So the first true video conferencing service. So apparently this was June 30th, 1970 between Pittsburgh Mayor Peter Flaherty and Chairman and CEO John Harper of Alcoa. The service officially launched the next day, July 1st, 1970, with 38 picture phones located at 8 Pittsburgh companies. Yeah, this is crazy stuff. This is crazy stuff. I don't know. Maybe this is all Mandela effect, because, I mean, I don't know. This stuff's just crazy. Huh. Apparently, there wasn't much going on from the 70s until until 1992, the Videophone 2500. So what happened through the 80s? Huh. There were a couple. Oh man, look at this video phone. There's another video phone here from 1970. I mean, isn't it weird how not even in like these Hollywood movies with rich people, like I don't remember any Hollywood movie with even with like millionaires where they were using video phones like this. Because this came out in France in 1970. I mean, this is crazy. This is the French Matra video phone. It's actually, Matra was a defense and electronics manufacturer. Huh. So the unit cost was actually only... It's actually not that expensive. This is actually insane. It was actually only 325 pounds in 1971, and the monthly subscription charge was only 3.35 pounds. So monthly charge almost nothing, and the unit was 325 pounds. Huh. It's just weird. This is 1969. Swedish Prime Minister is using a video phone here. An Ericsson video phone. I mean, does anybody think this is all Mandela? Because why was none of this in any, like, Hollywood movies? Does anybody remember? I mean, because all the latest tech, like, look at cell phones. Cell phones were in Hollywood movies in the 80s. Even possibly, was it late 70s, early 80s? I mean, I remember that. But I don't remember video phones other than some sci-fi stuff, but nothing other than that. Here's a video phone from 1999 in Japan. Kyocera. I mean, this is 99 though, but I don't really remember even... Does anybody remember, even in the late 90s, early 2000s, anybody using video phones like this? Is this all just one giant Mandela now? Because this is kind of weird, because usually there are, like, really cool gadgets. I mean, look at all the Hollywood movies where they were using webcams and chat rooms, even in the early 90s, and some of the, like, horror movies, just random movies. Yeah, I don't remember a single movie using video phones. Boggin says, for me, this is a total Mandela effect. I mean, Hollywood always has like these tech gadgets in all of their movies. I mean, even just random teen dramas, they'll have like the latest gadgets, like webcams, chat rooms, etc. But I don't remember video phones ever being used anywhere. It's pretty weird. Flat Bob says, Bruce, what are your thoughts on all the poisonous chemicals in our food and water? Why are they trying to unalive us all? Once again, this is a non-redundant stream, so I want to keep this not too crazy off the rails. Clark Rice says they did have radio phones, basically radios that could call back to a phone exchange. I do remember something about that. But video phones, I mean, this is crazy. Boggin says, yeah, and now there are black and white reels from the 40s showing them in cars. It's so weird how history changes after the fact. Well, here's the thing. If there weren't that many car phones in the 40s, it could maybe make sense that there weren't that many videos of them, film reels, and maybe they discovered a couple. I mean, I don't know. How many are there? I don't know. If there's a ton, yeah, that's weird. If there's only a few, I don't know. Clark Rice says, in the Army, we could literally call the White House from a foxhole radio. I mean, yeah, but video phones, I mean, this just seems weird because if they... I gotta ask one of my old friends who was always into gadgets and stuff. Like, it seems weird how none of these, like, Hollywood always loves to put gadgets in their movies. And I just don't remember any of this. Rethink Inc. says it was approximately 97-ish. I don't remember the manufacturer's name. Are you talking about that remote control car controlled by brainwaves? Yeah, because I do remember something about that. Intellect says Japan is like another country. It's wild. Yeah, but look at camcorders. Like, I definitely remember all these camcorders in the 90s and cell phones, and they were in Hollywood movies, and occasionally you'd see them on the street in, like, New York or something. I mean, it's, yeah. Bama Dog Mom asked, do we have a backup to the backup account? No, I probably should get another backup YouTube one. I mean, I really remember camcorder technology. I mean, there's Hollywood movies from the 70s where they have those giant VHS camcorders, like late 70s, early 80s. I mean, they're in movies all over the place. Where are the video phones? I really don't remember any of this. It's so crazy. I mean, this is really weird. I mean, everybody has that one friend who's into tech gadgets, and how did not a single one of them have a video phone? Like I said, I mean, I knew people on the internet in the late 80s. Late 80s, my friends. I don't remember a single person with any video phone. Not even not even through the late 90s. Like, it's crazy. Aaron, I think, are your posts being deleted? I see that says you posted, but I don't see anything above that one. If you can post, if you can comment again, Aaron, I just see your comment here. Hey, Bruce McGuire just posted. Then I see it again. See above. Amazon packages can fire back. Boggin says, that phone comment really led us down a rabbit hole. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm really scratching my head here. How did nobody... So, I mean, I actually had more than one friend who were into the latest gadgets. I don't remember a single person having a video phone ever. I mean, I remember people with pocket PCs. I mean, just all of these latest tech stuff. Nobody ever had a video phone. I mean, I guess the issue is the person you're talking to would also have had to have had a video phone, but I'm sure they had friends that were also techie, gadgety friends. I mean, it's just weird. Even if you didn't talk to anybody, just having the device. I don't remember anybody having any of these types of devices. I mean, I remember people having computers and being on the internet in the 80s. I do not remember video phones at all. Boggin says, late 80s, they got popular in cars, but they were clunky. Yeah, maybe even the mid 80s. Maybe even the mid 80s, and all through the early 90s. Once it was like 94, 95-ish, I don't really remember cars of that year having phones as an option. I mean, maybe some of them, but... Truth Trollette says, I don't remember anything like that unless it was futuristic or spy-type movie. Yeah, or sci-fi of some kind. Frank says, didn't AOL have a webcam service? I mean, there were tons of I mean, it's crazy. Like, I knew people who had all this stuff before it ever got popular by years and years and years. I don't remember anyone ever having a video phone. Yeah, Skype and all that. I think a lot of those chat apps might have had a webcam option too, but nobody had webcams, so it was almost never used. Les Xylophone says, can you do a deep dive about the OKC event, how Tim was sheep-dipped and he even name-dropped a senator, congressman as being the leader? Okay, yeah, I will be doing an episode on that. Aaron says, I was on the internet in the 70s. Worked for DEC, who was a big developer. But yeah, I'm not sure I knew anybody in the 70s. But yeah, in the 80s. Truth Trollette says, if it's a link and you are not a mod, the comment won't show up for us or for Bruce. Yeah, put, in parentheses, you could put spell out dot, like D-O-T, and put that in parentheses or something, so it'll break up the link. Heracles says, Kit was equipped with a video phone. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I mean, yeah, in those types of shows, but I'm talking about, like, a realistic drama or something, like, you know, a horror movie, just something, because they always had, like, the latest tech stuff, like the 80s and 90s horror movies. They had some cool gadgets, especially the 90s ones. Frank says, my dad's Buick Century in 1999 had a car phone, but we didn't have the service. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I remember a bunch of sports cars had them in the early 90s. And, of course, like the luxury cars. Clark says, remember the video chat in 2001, A Space Odyssey? Yeah, I mean, all the sci-fi stuff. Yeah, exactly, Frank. Frank says there were movies that had video chat devices, but that imply that it wasn't a real thing and just movie magic, or like, yeah, like sci-fi or some kind of super advanced thing that the average person couldn't have. Like, when this Kyocera video phone. It came out in 99. How come there's not a single movie from 99, 2000, 2001, 2002 that had this? It's just weird. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think we'd get this off track. I mean, this really might be a Mandela. I mean, I don't know, because basically every other tech is in a bunch of movies, and you might have known someone who had it. It's so weird. It's so weird. Alright, I'm not going to go too much longer, so we'll take some final questions here. Anybody want a new topic to close out? Someone mentioned the Ariana Grande interview. Is there something Illuminati-ish about it, or what? Is it new or something? Or is it the reptilian shapeshifter stuff? I need to do episode 3 in that series. So this is the VP210 phone, visual phone. So it was the first mobile color video phone. So apparently there were black and white video phones? Oh, wow. This is crazy. Yeah, there was one in 1988. The Mitsubishi Visitel LU500. Okay, hold on. This is crazy. This is way too crazy. Okay, this is insane. So they had, I don't believe this. So this was developed in 73. There was a DCT algorithm. Standardized in 1988. So the Luma phone, developed and marketed by Mitsubishi 1985. Alright, hold on here. So I'm gonna put this video up. Yeah, this has to be Mandela. Like, if this was really around in the 80s, then wouldn't all of those, 80s movies featuring rich kids and rich, just rich characters, I mean, none of them would have had it? Not in a single movie? I mean, this seems kind of crazy to me. Hold on, I'm gonna put it on the screen in a second. This is so weird. This is so weird. Like, how could just this giant segment of technology just simply not be anywhere and nobody ever had it? I mean, this is so crazy. Especially with some of the pricing. The pricing, it's a couple $100. It's not like tens of thousands. I mean, it's like really nice phones were not cheap. Like the really high-end regular phones. I mean, this didn't cost that much more. Or probably about the same price. So this is the Mitsubishi Luma phone. So it's not full color, doesn't appear to be full color, but so there's a little screen here. You can see the person you're talking to. I mean, so apparently this isn't featured in a single movie. Nobody knows anybody that had one. I mean, is this straight up Mandela effect? I mean, what? I mean, this is just so weird. I mean, it's just so weird. So this was 1985. And so in 1986 it came out. It cost $1,500. So, I mean, that's not cost prohibitive for a millionaire. I mean, obviously poor people are not going to have this. But for millionaires, I mean, it's weird. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just so weird. Then there was the $400 version, the Mitsubishi Visitel LU500. They came out in '88. It cost $400. You know, really nice phones were somewhere in the area of $200 to $300, so it wasn't that much crazier. Let's see if I get a video of the Visitel LU500. There's one on eBay for 94 bucks. I can't find a video of it actually operating, but there's a manual and everything. Only had a 1-year warranty though. So the one on the screen right now was 1,500 bucks. Again, pretty cheap for a multi-millionaire. This is the $400 version, so a smaller, cheaper one here. I mean, 400, I mean, that's, you don't have to be a millionaire to afford that. If you're really serious about talking to people and seeing them. So, yeah, I mean, this is just so weird. This is so super weird. So this is the cheaper one. Came out in '88 for only $400. I mean, nobody got this for Christmas? Nobody? And they had some, apparently they had some competitions. Sony had the PCT 15, which was $500. Panasonic had the WGR2 for $450 and the KX-TV10 for $500. And then apparently there was no movement on this at all until 1999. How crazy is that? So there's zero movement. So these come out in the 80s, and then Kyocera comes out with the mobile video phone in 99. I mean, these are not that cost prohibitive. I mean, obviously the $1,500 model, that's a little steep. I mean, only the millionaires would be getting those, but possibly still enough to turn a profit. But these $400 models, not a single person had them. I mean, camcorders cost more than that. And a lot of people had camcorders in the 80s. So, I mean, this is just weird. I mean, this is just really weird. I have to lean Mandela here. I mean, I really do. I mean, I don't know what to make of this. This is really weird. Yeah, I don't know what to make of this. I'm mind shocked. I'm truly mind shocked here. And how did they have none in the 90s? When, like, phone tech got really cheap. Like, you can get cordless phones and all that for pretty cheap. Yeah, Frank says Ferris Bueller's Day Off would have been perfect for it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, exactly. Or movies like it. So even if the main character wasn't super rich, I mean, they'd have a rich friend or something. Like, there would be at least some Hollywood movie somewhere where someone talked to someone on a video phone. Like a non-sci-fi, non-spy, high-tech movie. Just like a movie. Like, yeah, Ferris Bueller's Day Off would be perfect. That would have been perfect. Or any of those movies from the late 90s, late 80s, early 90s, where it would just be used. Kind of like cell phones. You have those movies from the 80s where the odd rich character has a cell phone. It is not unheard of to have a cell phone in the 80s. So, yeah, I really don't know what to make of this. Oh, man. Aaron says, even replacing the dot with DOT, YouTube is removing the chat post. That's weird. That always worked for me in random chats. I don't know what's going on here. And I mean, you would think people would remember seeing commercials on TV for these things too, right? Like, even if nobody had it, I mean, they run commercials for all sorts of high-end stuff. You know what's also kind of weird? Like, if you really think about it, look at all the high-tech devices they had in the 80s. I mean, the 80s technology was really catching up. Like, why wouldn't there be a bunch of video phones like this? I mean, it actually seemed, like, logically, it seems like they should have existed and been relatively popular. Not that you would always use the screen, but, you know, sometimes. Talking long distance to relatives. Like, it seems like this would be kind of popular before, you know, webcams became big. Yeah, I'm really struggling with this one. I mean, is there a way for this not to be a Mandela? I mean, it's just... Like, I mean, it's just kind of crazy. So apparently the first webcams were 1993, which sounds about right. I mean, I definitely remember seeing them mid-late 90s. But, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Early 90s-ish. And then pretty mainstream by the late 90s. Yeah, that all sounds about right. So it would seem that these video phones should have been relatively widespread, at least among, like, middle upper class. I mean, this is just crazy. This doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, I mean, why were they not super popular throughout the 80s and early 90s before webcams took over? And again, not even that many people had internet in the mid to late 90s. So, like, video phones should have still been a thing into the early 2000s, I would think. This is one of my biggest mind shocks, I gotta say. Even though it's not about Bigfoot or interdimensional entities, this doesn't make any sense. This really doesn't. Truth Trollette says, reminds me of a fax machine. Is Mandela replacing fax machines with video phones? Again, even the fax machine, like, rich people had those pretty early. And you can see that in movies, too. It's like the rich characters had a fax machine for no reason. And they made jokes about it. Like, even you know, random teen shows on TV would have a fax. So, I mean, yeah, I really don't know what to make of this. This one has really left me mind shocked more than most. Because it really does seem like these should have been fairly widespread in the 80s, early 90s. Les Xylophone says 1600 in 80s money is like 9K in today's money. Well, it was 1500, not 1600, right? What was the, let's see here. It was, but that was the expensive one. It was 1500. Well, let me double check what exactly it was in 86. So 1586 would be 4,284 today. Yeah, so we're talking multimillionaires. But what was it? 400 was the cheaper model, right? That's only 1,142. Like, I knew people who spent that much on like a cell phone or a computers were way more than that. So yeah, this isn't even a multi-millionaire thing. Because it was 488. So Mitsubishi had the lower cost one, which was 488. So that would have actually been, that would be $1,059 today. $1,000. Like, I knew people who dropped a couple hundred on a regular phone, like those really nice cordless phones. They were not cheap when they first came out, like with a lot of range, so you could talk like way far in your backyard. And they had like long battery life. So like, definitely upper class, middle to upper class, but the multimillionaires would have all had this. And again, like, even in Hollywood movies, they should have represented like at least the millionaires that had it. It's not like there's only one millionaire. There's plenty of rich people that would have had them. Alright, see you next time, Flat Bob. Yeah, I mean, we're wrapping up here, but Rodney Thomas says the film High Treason portrayed two people talking via computer screens in 1929. That's bonkers. I do need to do... We might have to watch party that movie. Clark Rice says there wasn't enough bandwidth. I mean, apparently there was, though. I mean, they all tested I mean, maybe not for every single person to have one, but I think... It's kind of like if everybody was on the phone at the same time, it would still kind of... I forget what the saturation percentage was for the phone lines, but because obviously not every single person would have this. Frank says, even Stevens, this show would have had stuff like that, I feel, too. I mean, just look at all the shows that had cell phones. I mean, let's look at what was the cost of the first cell phone. Let's see. Yeah, so it was about 500, so it's about the same. So in 82 it was actually 3,995. So that old brick one from the early 80s, the Motorola Dynatac 8000X, it was $3,995, and you still see people that had those, and they're in Hollywood movies. There's plenty of that. So let's look how much that cost adjusted for inflation. So that was $39.95. In 82, yeah, that'd be 12,960. So way more than the video phone. Way 10 times more than 10 times more, and still enough people had it that you could see people using it walking around a city, and of course featured in Hollywood movies, etc. You know, it was known to exist, and more than one person had it. So yeah, there you go. That's a good comparison. So the first mobile phone was way more expensive in the early 80s, and still featured in plenty of movie through the 80s. I mean, again, I don't know if I could... I don't think I can say I knew someone who personally had that brick one, but I've seen it. I saw it in the 80s, like just walking around any major city, you would see it. Never seen a video phone. Ever. Oh, Pinto Sack, welcome. Yeah, I mean, we're just wrapping up here. I don't know, maybe there's some kind of weird Mandela with video phones. Frank might have some Bigfoot info. That would be cool, yes. Aaron says, all I did was mention the other platform by its single letter name and YouTube removed it. I don't know what YouTube's doing. There's some weird stuff going on recently. Clark says, I worked on cellular technology in the 90s for DoD. Did you know anybody with these video mobile phones? Kyocera in 99 or after? Clark says it was possible but not practical. Well, that's what I mean. Like, you'd have just, at least some of the gadgety people. Like look at how many people actually had those VHS camcorders. Let's see how much that cost. The first home video camcorder. And we're not even talking about the film. I mean, let's look at VHS. Let's look at manageable VHS. So 83, the Betamax beta camcorder. So JVC and Sony also had them in 82. Like that old shoulder-mounted one. So they were all about 1,000. So that's that's way more. Wow. Actually, even in the late 80s, they were priced 1,646, and there was one cheaper one for around 1,000. So the video phone was way cheaper than these camcorders, these VHS camcorders that are featured in many a movie. That everybody knew at least one family member that had something like this. And they cost way more than the video phone, more than twice as much. Or about the same as the expensive video phone model. But, yeah, I mean, this doesn't make any sense at all. Yeah, I mean, this is weird. I mean, you could see on the screen, yeah, the picture quality is nothing to write home about, but just the fact that it existed, it's just crazy. Les Xylophone says, did any of you have the Game Boy Color with the camera and printer? I vaguely remember something about that as well, but that was later. Heracles says, I had a Betamax in the 80s with a jog dial and a frame-by-frame advance. Yeah, that's cool. Alright, well, I mean, that's it for now, but yeah, I don't understand this timeline or the pricing and how come there's not a single movie that features the video phone. Like, you would think some of these movies, like maybe Wall Street or some of these just big-time movies with really rich people, they'd be showing off all the latest gadgets, as they do in all these movies, and yet not a single video phone. So, well, hope everybody enjoyed another edition of Mindshock Live Q&As. If you want to help support the podcast, help logic and reason return to a world where it's quickly going extinct, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and Patreon. This is Bruce McGuire signing off. Catch you guys next time.